Welcome to the show, everybody. Thank you so much for being with us on this Friday. Hope you're having a great day and looking forward to a really good weekend. So, back on April the 21st, the state of Virginia had their referendum to redistrict their state and essentially give the Democrats an 11-1 or 10-1 advantage. And that plan has backfired in their face in a spectacular fashion only in a matter of 3 weeks. On April 21st, they had their little referendum. It was immediately challenged as unconstitutional. Then, a mere 8 days later, on April 29th, the Supreme Court decision came down saying the Voting Rights Act is unconstitutional, or a portion of it is, where you can't base your districts on racial gerrymandering. You just can't do it. And now it is May the 8th. So about 3 weeks from the Virginia referendum, and the South has responded in a big way. Tennessee, Louisiana, Florida, Mississippi's now in place, South Carolina, Alabama. And then today, the Virginia Supreme Court officially ruled that the Virginia process to get the referendum on the ballot was unconstitutional, and it means the old map where Republicans have, 4 or 5 seats is going to stand. This has backfired it's backfired spectacularly, but it's backfired. I guess I'm amazed at the speed at which it's backfired. I mean, it's been a historic 3 weeks, and now the midterms, which were not looking good for Republicans, and it still may not be great, but it's a lot better outcome. As a matter of fact, now, according to some people, the Republicans really only have to win 3 of the toss-ups to basically comfortably maintain their majority in the House. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about what that means. We're also going to talk about the Democrat reaction to this. Of course, they're crying racism. But one guy out of Louisiana, who apparently has a show, is lamenting the fact that the ancestors of the Confederates weren't genocided, that this is the problem. The reason we have what we have today, the news, the headlines about the South, the Southern scramble, trying to get the apportionment the way they want it, using the hard power that Republican voters have given Republican state legislatures. He's lamenting that the North really just should have taken care of the problem and basically not let Southern people reproduce for all of these years. We're going to talk about that much, much more. We've got the alien disclosures. We also have, we're going to kind of do a dive into old school Hollywood movies as well, compare then versus now. Happy Friday to everybody out there. The show starts right now.
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, folks, welcome. Thank you. For those of you, well, as always, we'll just say we're broadcasting from the state of Arkansas, the great state of Arkansas, my home state of Arkansas, and I'm happy to be here. As always, we want you to like and subscribe to the LFA TV Rumble channel. For those of you watching on the Paul Harrell Program YouTube channel, please like, share, and subscribe. Do all of the things. Whether you're watching on Facebook or X, we would very much appreciate it. I saw the funniest thing I have seen in a long time. It's really interesting because yesterday, I can't show this because it's not been edited for TV because we are on cable in a couple of places. But at the end of the show yesterday, we gave you this story where we said it was not a good day to be a lesbian judge in the state of Texas, specifically Bexar County, Texas. Wasn't a good day because Rosie Speedlin Gonzalez agreed to never serve on the bench again. This was after she was charged with, felony wrongful detainment or something like that, where, she humiliated some attorney and handcuffed her in the jury box. Really kind of old school stuff. But anyway, she was facing 20 years, Speedlin Gonzalez, and she agreed to essentially not go to jail for 20 years, but she'll never run or she'll never be on the bench again. She can never say she was a judge again. She can still officiate weddings, gay ones. Not only gay ones, but probably she's only going to officiate gay weddings. But she can't call herself a judge. She can't wear a judge's robe. She can't do any of that. She's done, right? This lesbian judge. Well, we started to look at her yesterday, and there was an X account that made an astute observation, which was that this Speedland Gonzalez, a lesbian with a short haircut and everything, she looked a lot like Johnny Knoxville from Jackass. And we kind of pontificated that maybe they're the same person. Well, what's interesting is I was just scrolling on my phone before we came on the air. And on Instagram, I came across this video that, according to the description, it's from this new Jackass movie that's coming out, Jackass 3 or whatever. And so I started watching it, and it was, it was a gag, it was a prank, and it was apparently a troupe of midgets or dwarves. And I'm silly. It was just kind of reminiscent of my childhood. It was old school funny, and I still can't quite get over it because, and I can't play it for you here again because it's not been edited because they're dropping too many F-bombs. But it's essentially a guy and a girl, little people at a bar drinking a beer, and then the other another little person comes up and it's like, "What are you doing, Janet?" Basically, "I've caught you with another guy," and they get into an argument, and he leaves. But then he comes back with a posse of still little people, and then they start to get into this bar fight, and they're doing this in front of a public bar, and normal height people are looking at it like, what in the world is going on? Well, so then the cops show up to break up the fight, but the cops are in their cop uniforms, but they're also dwarfs. And it's just this huge rumble. And anyway, it was just so funny. It was such a funny clip. And again, it said it was from this new movie. I don't even know when it's coming out. I have no idea. I really have no desire to see it. I'd rather just see little clips of it on social media. But, man, the look on people's faces, what am I watching? When the cops come in, that's when I just lost it. Get on the ground. But they're little too. So it just becomes this little mesh of bodies, and you can't even really tell what's going on. It's like a cartoon. All right, anyway, so Hakeem Jeffries, after Governor Ron DeSantis passed his map and now his second one, Hakeem Jeffries was touting the Virginia referendum as an F around and find out moment. And this has now backfired, again, in spectacular fashion. Greg Price reporting this. The Virginia Supreme Court has overturned the Democrat gerrymandering referendum, ruling that the process to put it on the ballot was unconstitutional. Virginia will keep their 5 Republican districts. This is from the ruling on March the 6th, 2026. So again, the referendum was on April 29th. I think that's pretty crucial information here. April 29th was the vote to redistrict, but this stemmed from actions of the Virginia legislature back on March 6th of 2026. The General Assembly of Virginia submitted to Virginia voters a proposed constitutional amendment that authorizes partisan gerrymandering of congressional districts in the Commonwealth. We hold that the legislative process employed to advance this proposal violated Article 7, Section 1 of the Constitution of Virginia. This constitutional violation incurably taints the resulting referendum vote and nullifies its legal efficacy. So what that means is, at least for the 2026 midterms, Virginia is left unchanged. But in the meantime, you had this Virginia referendum was it was a tipping point, as our friend Eric Haynes likes to say. It was a rallying cry across the country, specifically in red Christian states, where they said, okay, this is what Virginia's going to do. This is how much they want their power back, and it's also this path to once again impeach President Trump and essentially subject the rest of the country to the rule of Democrats, which, if that ever happens again, it's going to be absolutely ruthless for Christians, in my opinion. Now, let's keep in mind that this also happened. The whole Virginia referendum happened because of Abigail Spanberger. Abigail Spanberger was a CIA case officer. She is a company woman, and she was there. She ran for governor, promised to be a moderate. Obviously, she's not, but she ran for governor because it was very important, in my opinion, for Intel oligarchy holdouts, those waiting for the next administration. Because while I do believe that the Intel oligarchy has not been brought to heel, they have not been made to pay, there is at least elements in the Trump administration that are doing their best to ferret it out, trying to make the criminal the criminal referrals. Well, whether that results in prosecutions, I don't know. I sure hope so. But I don't even think it's an arguable point that it is less safe. It's a less friendly environment for the Intel oligarchs that, the ones that have been part of the color revolution that was used against the American people for so long. There have been times when it's been better for them, right? So the CIA backing Spanberger, her going into Virginia, it was an attempt to establish like a beachhead to run maybe a safe haven for these Intel spooks to go, while they wait out the Trump administration. And one of the ways to get rid of the Trump administration is impeachment, and you're not going to do that. You're not even going to have a chance of doing that in the Senate unless you take the House. And so Virginia does the referendum to try to redistrict, to try to do their part, to try to make it close. Now, there's also a great possibility that Virginia did this with the speed that they did is because they also were hearing from the Supreme Court through back channels that there was an opinion coming. We know now because of Alito and some of the things that he's written in his in the documents that are available, that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson was slow-walking her dissent, which would, of course, was being done to limit the amount of legislation that the southern states could do to try to redistrict before November of 2026. That technically, it for the most part, I mean, with Mississippi, their primaries had come and gone, but for the most part, that failed. But I will say it's a case of, when you really look at how all of this has played out, it's a case of falling into your own nets. You have the Democrats laying their nets for Republican voters, and the way things have worked out in combination with the Supreme Court decision, it looks like for now that the Democrats have fallen into their own nets. Now, there will be court challenges for what Alabama has done, and Louisiana already has one, but it's been thrown out because Louisiana's district was racially gerrymandered, and now they have to change it. But for the meantime, this is something that it's not worked out at all the way the Democrats had hoped. It has blown up spectacularly in their faces. And when I say fall into their own nets, I mean that's a quote, or a reference rather, to a Bible verse, I believe Psalm 34, 35, where the enemies, they lay out nets for me, but make them fall into their own nets, make them fall into their own traps. And that's what's happened here, because if Virginia had not done what they did, and all we had was the Supreme Court decision invalidating parts of the Voting Rights Act, I don't know if you would have had the political will for these Republican legislatures to do what they've done as fast as they've done it. Obviously, you had Ron DeSantis. He always had the courage to do this. But I don't know if Tennessee does what they does what they did. I don't know if Louisiana moves with the speed that they did. I don't know if Alabama, Kay Ivey was eventually against it, and then she came out for it. There's talk that South Carolina may do something. There's talk that Mississippi now may do something. I don't know if that happens if Spanberger, CIA-backed Spanberger, doesn't go with this referendum idea. And now you look at the president pro tem that helped pass this legislation that's now been found unconstitutional. This president pro tem, whatever her name is it Logan, or anyway. Now she's, her office was raided by the FBI the other day, and so was the marijuana dispensary right next to her, because now there's, according to the New York Times, there's allegations that bribery was involved. So it's a very interesting situation. And again, the last 3 weeks, a lot of moving parts, a lot of moving pieces have taken place here. Here was Hakeem Jeffries warning fools, what he said, fools like DeSantis in Florida, after the, let's see here. This was the day after the Virginia referendum, so this would have been on April the 30th. Listen to Hakeem Jeffries, a.k.a. Timu Obama.
Our message to Florida Republicans is F around and find out. If they go down the road of a DeSantis dummy-mander, the Florida Republicans are going to find themselves in the same situation as Texas Republicans, who are on the run right now. Our message to Florida Republicans is F around and find out.
So this man looks completely inept at this point. His conclusions are obviously false. They're not true. This is not how it worked out at all. Texas's map gets to stay. Florida's map is going to stay. This is a complete disaster for them. Utter disaster. Eric Daugherty writes, in striking down the Democrats' 10 Democrat, 1 Republican Virginia congressional map, the state Supreme Court rips Spanberger and her team of cheaters. Says this constitutional violation incurably taints the resulting referendum. We already wrote that part. It goes on, we hold that the legislative process employed to advance this proposal violated the Virginia Constitution. So Democrats have now failed in forcing Virginia into being represented by only 1 Republican and 10 Democrats in Congress. It is now back to 6D, 5 Republicans. And so now we were all wondering. I'm pretty sure when the Virginia, or when the SCOTUS ruling came down about the Voting Rights Act, that's what we kind of were like, well, maybe this is why Donald Trump doesn't seem as concerned about the midterms as the rest of us are. As things are not going, they're not at an optimum level, right? There's this Strait of Hormuz, there's the war with Iran, or the conflict with Iran, or whatever people want to call it. Obviously, I don't support, don't support, getting involved, another war conflict in the Middle East. You look at the gas prices, things aren't going well. You combine that with the Epstein files, Pam Bondi, obviously good thing getting rid of Pam Bondi, but there's just a lot of stuff that makes this apparent fragile Republican coalition, we've talked about the infighting and everything else. And this whole time, it's like, many of us have been like, why? Like, this is not going to be good, because if the midterms happen and it looks as bad as it does, now you basically they're going to try to impeach Trump, and now he's this lame duck and not going to get anything done legislatively. Of course, right now with Congress, we have control, and we're not getting anything done legislatively either. But you can understand the urgency, I guess. You can understand why people out there are like, this is going to be a bloodbath. And yet now it's going to be it's a lot more reasonable, at least as it is right now, that Republicans may keep control of the House. It's not guaranteed. There are toss-up districts, but let's actually get into that. We've got some breakdown of that as well. But here's the Gateway Pundit. Before we do that, here's the Gateway Pundit. Pride goeth before the fall. Hakeem Jeffries' big mouth comes back to bite him after Virginia's 10-1 Democratic gerrymander gets nuked. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries learned the hard way that it's a bad idea to shoot your mouth off before the process has concluded after Democrats suffered a devastating redistricting setback today. This is the latest devastating blow to radical Democrats' blatant attempt to rewrite Virginia's congressional map mid-decade and hand themselves a supermajority in the U.S. House by turning the state from a competitive 6-5 split into a laughably unfair 10 Democrats to 1 Republican slaughter. Virginia voters previously approved the state legislature and Governor Abigail Spanberger's wicked power grab in a narrow vote last month. The day after the vote, Jeffries strutted to the podium, we just saw it, to spike the football Our message to Florida Republicans, F around and find out. Yeah, that didn't work out. Didn't work out at all. The Virginia Supreme Court overturned. So this was in response to Greg Price. Arian McIntyre says Republicans might actually win what would have been otherwise bleak midterms because they used power correctly. We've been talking about this for weeks now, and we talked about this yesterday. The Republicans in D.C. right now don't seem to be concerned at all about the Democrats taking power and their own voters having to live under Democrat rule again. They don't seem concerned at all because they won't end the filibuster and they won't pass the they won't pass the SAVE Act, which would make it easier for Republicans to win elections. And yet they don't seem to care about that, right? That is not necessarily the case with state legislatures. State legislatures have hard power, and this is one of the few things that they have a say in when it comes to apportionment, when it comes to what our districts look like and who actually is going to be more likely to go to the swamp to try to fight. And they did it. They looked at what Virginia did. They said, this is ridiculous. Then then we got this gift from the Supreme Court, and they acted and they used power appropriately. And this is exactly what the Democrats would do, obviously, with Virginia, but with all of these other issues as well. Republicans just never want to use hard power because they argue, well, if we do it, then the Democrats will do it, but the Democrats always do it. The Democrats will get rid of the filibuster if they get the chance this time. Here's Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, he's upset. And he's saying this is like, massive corruption and it's a rigged system now. No vote in Tennessee, no vote in Florida, no vote in Missouri. No, when he says no vote, he's talking about no Democrats. No Democrat member in Tennessee. No Democrats in Florida, +4 GOP. No Democrats in Missouri, +1 GOP. No Democrats in North Carolina, +2. No vote, no Democrats in Texas, +5 GOP. Virginia's voter-approved maps thrown out. MAGA has rigged the system. MAGA has rigged the system. Now, this guy's not... it's incredible what we have to point out. He doesn't care that New England essentially looks the same way that the South is about to look. He doesn't care about that. As the South has had to fight politically with both arms tied behind our back for the last 50, 60 years or longer. But he doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about his own state that he gerrymandered. He's using hard power in California that he has to gerrymander California. But then you're upset. See, this is where it's just kind of ridiculous. Like, both sides in this country find the other to be intolerable. Both sides in this country find the other side to be so intolerable that they doubt they can live together in harmony and in peace. And so all of this redistricting is reflecting that sentiment. It's reflecting the sentiment that we can't even agree on the most basic ideas of what makes a country or reality, like men and women's sports or, that sort of thing. Like, you want me to talk tax policy with somebody across the table who believes that a man can change his gender, become a woman, and then has all the rights and entitlements of using women's restroom. Like, we're not going to see eye to eye on that. And so because of that, these Republicans are rightfully doing what the Democrats did in California, doing what Democrats do in blue states. They're sanctuary city policies, right? They've come to the belief that it doesn't matter what the law says. We just don't agree with the law, so we're going to create our own sanctuary cities, and we are going to stand up to the federal government and because we think that this is intolerable. Well, Republicans are doing the same thing, and the polarization that you now see in the apportionment maps is only reflecting the real polarization that's been present for a very, very long time. Both sides find the other to be intolerable, and they want to lessen the chances that we have to live under their ideas and power. And they're willing to do this within the system as kind of like a last gasp. Like, this redistricting is a good thing, in my opinion, because it is a positive step that keeps this thing from going kinetic, although the left has no problem going kinetic, as we've seen. They also have no problem funding people that will go violent and claiming that it's Republicans that do it. See the Southern Poverty Law Center. So, do I have a problem? Do I have a problem with what Virginia attempted to do? Yes, in that it means less Republicans from the state, the people are disenfranchised. But no, in terms of you got to win elections at the state legislature, and you lost the governor. You ran Winsome Sears, who I just don't think was a good candidate. And elections have consequences. And the argument was Republicans need to do the same thing, and now Republicans have done the same thing. This is the nature. This is the nature of politics, especially when both sides believe the other to be intolerable to live around and doubt that there is a resolution, where there's some bipartisan resolution. No, it's going to be, well, what are the basic things? What are the basic things that we agree on as a party that are the most important? Well, let's focus on the family. Let's focus, on the benefits of the family unit, whereas the other side doesn't even want to agree to a definition of what that is. It can be anything. Sean Davis writes, hard to overstate how much Virginia's insanity, led by Democrat Louise Lucas, that's what it is, Lucas, who just got investigated by the FBI, got raided by the FBI, pushed multiple red states to redistrict. The callous decision from SCOTUS was obviously important, but by itself it wouldn't have led to Tennessee or Alabama redistricting. The insanely corrupt Democrat overreach in Virginia is what tipped the scales for a lot of red state Republican legislators who were on the fence. So here is former Virginia Governor Ken Cuccinelli saying that this Supreme Court decision from Virginia, the state Supreme Court in Virginia, means for the 2026 election cycle, it is the old map, not the new map, and there's no recourse moving forward.
So the Commonwealth have any recourse or way to appeal the ruling? No, they do not. As I mentioned, the Virginia Supreme Court is the final authority on Virginia constitutional questions. This is the end, folks. You will have the same map in 2026 for the congressional elections that existed in 2024. That is now unchangeable and immutable. That does not mean maps couldn't be changed by 2028, but they will not be changed by 2026.
It's just again, I can't get over it. In 3 weeks' time, in 3 weeks, it's totally different maps. But not the way the Democrats thought it would work out. In the past 2 weeks, Texas map has been upheld in court against what Hakeem Jeffries said. Texas, you're going to find out. +5 GOP seats upheld in court. Tennessee passes new map, +1 GOP seat. Poor Memphis. Florida signs new map into law. That's 4 GOP seats. Virginia map overturned in court. That's +4 GOP seats of what we would have lost. SCOTUS ends race-based maps, 15 to 20 potential GOP seats. Incredible. R.N. McIntyre again, after many years of repeating endless that democracy is about who makes the rules and counts the votes, not finally crafted debate, the GOP finally listened. More importantly, successful exercise of power build a momentum that emboldens you to do more. Yeah, that's in response to that particular tweet. Ben Hart, a new crystal ball report after the Tennessee redistricting, status of redistricting wars. Again, I really love the phrase, the Southern Shuffle. California, they redistrict to +5 Dems. Utah +1 Dems. Now, that's an interesting one. The Utah one, the state Supreme Court justice just resigned out of Utah. Did you guys see this? State Supreme Court justice just resigned out of Utah. She was integral to getting this little Democrat district in the middle of the state. Apparently, according to some reports, there's some infidelity at play with maybe one of the attorneys that had something to do with the redistricting before the court. But then you get Texas +5, Florida +4, North Carolina 1, Missouri 1, Ohio 2, Tennessee 1. So that's +6 Dems to +14 Republicans. And we have pending Alabama +1, Louisiana +2, Mississippi +1, Virginia +4. Probably it was overturned. So most likely outcome, plus 17 GOP, plus 6 Dems, net gain of 11 seats for the GOP. Because of gerrymandering by both parties, only about 10% of House seats are competitive anymore. So it's beginning to look like game, set, match for the GOP in both the House and the Senate, and we have not yet factored in the impact of removing 3.5 million illegal immigrants from the USA and what impact that may have on elections, with millions more to be deported or exit from the USA on their own before 2028. Not to mention the fact that you need to put ICE in front of all these polling places in Democrat cities, and that certainly needs to happen to make sure that illegals don't show up and vote. So the new Crystal Ball 2026 House ratings after Tennessee redistricting looks like Democrats 212 minus 1, Republicans 208 plus 1, toss-ups are 15. Tennessee 09, blue, safe D. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, it still could go the Democrats' way, but I think that things are looking a lot better because the toss-ups are. I've seen another analysis than this one, but it's a lot more doable, is what I'm saying. Especially if for some reason we can focus on domestic things, get this Strait of Hormuz thing solved. Although I'm not really sure how that's going to happen at this point. I have no idea. Rich Barris says that SCOTUS saved Republicans from their own stupidity and greed in Virginia, meaning they didn't spend enough money in Virginia. The Dem mat relies on racial gerrymandering. SCOTUS gave them an out. They can argue to legislators. Justice Alito saves the country again. Wow. Big deal. Now we're going to talk about Memphis again. Memphis is upset. You're going to get rid of the Democrat. You're getting rid of our one Democrat, Steve Cohen, Mr. Fried Chicken himself. I saw somebody lamenting about that. How dare it? Well, maybe if Memphis could get its own act together and not be a city that's a national embarrassment and not send legislators to D.C. that do fried chicken stunts in committee, people might be, the state of Tennessee as a whole might be more comfortable with the idea of Memphis getting a say in who goes to D.C. But until Memphis can solve their own problems and quit voting for more and more corruption and mismanagement and bad ideas, the state of Tennessee is not going to take Memphis seriously. And that's fundamentally what this is. Tennessee's saying we don't really take Memphis seriously, because why would we want to take government advice from anybody in Memphis in this area when their city is deteriorating before the country's eyes? Listen to this.
The woman now who is likely going to win the 9th district in Tennessee is a black Republican woman as a result of this redistricting effort. It's likely going to be a black Republican woman who beats that old white man.
Could I make this very simple?
But that's racist?
We're
going to come back.
It actually is.
We're going to take a quick break, and then Tesla and Congressman, I'm going to have you both respond.
I don't know the political affiliations of this blonde lady right here, but look at her face. A black Republican woman could beat a white Democrat man.
We're going to come back.
It actually is.
We're going to take a quick break, and then Tesla and
we got to go to break. We got to go to break immediately. Mike Lee, senator from Utah, Democrats losing their minds that a white Democrat will be defeated by a Republican black woman in Tennessee, prompting CNN to cut to a commercial break. Tim Pool coming in from the ropes. This poor black man just lost his congressional seat in Tennessee because of the racist GOP. Steve Fried Chicken Cohen. Steve Fried Chicken Cohen. He is, he's been in there for 20-something years. You got to know he's upset that he's going to lose his power. But he's worth, what did we said he was worth the other day. We looked it up. He's worth like $8 million in stocks, something like that. But Todd Starnes of Fox Radio, is he still at Fox Radio? Let me see here. I used to know everything about radio. Yeah, he's got a radio show, Newsmax. Okay, he's at Newsmax. He says He lives in Memphis. He says blacks actually started a Republican Party club in Memphis back in the 1920s to fight back against black Democrats. Many of the city's wealthiest citizens were, in fact, black Republicans who also held powerful positions within the National Republican National Committee, the RNC. They don't teach that part of American history in our schools. Black Republicans. We are not a monolith. We are not a monolith. Never forget that sketch. And so people have kind of decided to do a deep dive looking into the history and the past of State Representative Justin Pearson. Justin Pearson was caught after Tennessee eliminated Memphis's district in Congress yesterday. Pearson got into it with a state trooper. We covered that on the program. Got into it with state trooper. You know, what the F is wrong with you? You stupid mother. And then he got in the cop's face and went, boy. So people have wondered, and by the way, this is a much better clip of, much better photo of this Harry Potter sorting robe that he wears around the Tennessee State House. It's obviously some sort of suit with, I don't know, some sort of, I guess it's a black cultural African thing that he's wearing, some sort of shawl. But he does kind of look like he goes to Hogwarts, honestly. Like maybe this is like, I don't know, some sort of a formal dance that he's going to. This is what he was wearing yesterday. But people have decided to look into his past state representative, Justin Pearson, who was kicked out of the Tennessee House, by the way, and then let back in because of his radical, just uncivil behavior. But this is Justin Pearson. It's a juxtaposition. Justin Pearson back when he was, I think, in college versus today. Take a listen to this.
Justin J. Pearson, and I'm running for president of BSG. There are a few reasons that we're running this campaign this year. One has to do with representation. How can we represent all voices in a conversation? I wanted to do this by partnering with organizations from the Boone Democrats to the Boone Republicans. I want to bring together different voices, dissenting voices, voices that may be more liberal or more conservative, in order that we can reach a point of sort of the radical middle.
Here, you've had 3 strikes laws, mass incarceration, denied us of who we are, and we are still here. And today, you'll take the only majority black district from us. But I want you to know, and I want my nephew, sons, and the future to know, no matter what you do, no matter how much you try and break us and make us bend and make us quit, we will still be here.
Okay.
Justin J. Pearson.
I guess, Mr. Clerk, turn the machine on. Let's tally up the vote. It is a crazy juxtaposition. I'm here today. We're running this campaign because we're trying to find the radical middle. You go from that to, we're still here. And we're going to be here for as long as it takes, no matter how you take away our districts. No matter how much you ignore us. Just kind of seems like he's doing a Malcolm X impersonation, doesn't it? Impression. Doesn't it seem like he's doing a Malcolm X impression? You go from that to that, you're that to this. It does seem fake. Congressman Tim Burchett says it's all theater. And you know why? Let's just be honest here. Let's call this what it is. You know, this term grifter we love to throw this term out, this term grifter. Anybody that you don't like now is a grifter. Anybody you don't like, anybody who says something you don't like, anybody who, has friends of people that, you think are scumbags or you think no one should listen to because you disagree on this issue or maybe a bunch of issues. We just throw it around. Oh, he's just a grifter. It's really, I don't know. The name kind of doesn't mean anything now because anytime and I think I'll say specifically within the Republican Party coalition, the infighting, everybody just calls each other a grifter. Oh, okay. All right. That'll solve it, And I get it. I get the urge to want everybody to agree with you or to want to ferret out. I understand that, and this critique isn't going to stop that. That's still going to go on. I guess it's just I'm older, and I just kind of look at it, and I think it's kind of silly. But this is an example of grifting. Okay, this is an example of grifting on the left because this guy figured out that this version of himself.
And I'm running for president of BSG. There are a few reasons that we're running this campaign this year.
He figured out that that version of himself is going to make way less money than this version.
Mass incarceration denied us of who we are, and we are still here.
You see what I mean? Like, the version, the old version, not going to make as much money, not going to get as much campaign, not going to be as much of an agitator. I mean, the same thing happened with Jasmine Crockett. You know, where Jasmine Crockett, when you go look at how when she first ran, she was, you know, very articulate. And then she went on to this, honey. Oh, no, we ain't going to let the Republicans go do that. We're going to let them do that. And so, you know, her persona is just more effective for somebody's message. But I can promise you, you don't go through some sort of transformation like that unless you're making more money. And so State Representative Justin Pearson figured that out. You know, yeah, is it theater? Yeah, it's theater, but it's I mean, you're getting paid a lot more. You're more useful to, you know, whoever's, you know, funding your campaign to be that kind of agitator. Yeah, so people, that's pretty funny. Napoleon Dynamite. It is the same vibe, I would agree. C3, what else we got? Oh, so there was one Memphis Democrat state rep who, during the debate yesterday, we missed this one. It fell through the cracks, talking about secession.
And if that is the case, let me make it easier for you. Let Memphis secede from the state of Tennessee. You don't have to redraw maps when you let us out. Let my people go. And I'm dead ass serious.
Oh, I think I don't think anyone doubted that you were serious. You really would want Memphis to just be its own state, a city state. Some people have actually proposed this as an idea to solve a lot of America's division, where these giant metropolitan areas just become their own city states. Problem is, then you're gonna have 2 senators from a city like Memphis or Chicago or New York, but then you would also get an additional 2 senators where rural New York, rural Tennessee, rural Illinois would be able to vote, you know, and obviously would be somebody, it wouldn't be a Democrat. I don't know if that's the case or not. I don't know. I mean, I don't really think that that's a good idea. But you do kind of there is a problem. We do have a problem, but you see this biblically, honestly. Like you see that large cities and large metropolitan areas are where there is just more sin. There's more unrepentant sin. And then that just fuels the degradation of society. You see it like in the very beginning, after Cain kills Abel, and this other civilization pops up in Genesis, and you know, it's this juxtaposition. And I can't remember the name of the city. It's not Lamech, is it? I can't remember, but anyway, you've got, you know, Adam and his line that are in the wilderness, and they're waiting on the child of promise, and then you've got juxtaposition, this other civilization where they're creating all this stuff and technology, and are basically doing a mini version of the Tower of Babel that'll come later in the book. But it just goes to show you just kind of what happens when we gather together in mass populations. It tends to not go well. I don't really know what the answer is when it comes to where we are right now. You know, if there ever was any sort of kinetic conflict between this country again, it's largely understood that the cities would not make it because they all depend on the resources from the hardworking rural folks. And that if there was ever a real conflict, there would obviously be supply chain disruptions and intentional, you know, blockades. and that we wouldn't be able to last. So I don't know. Yeah, but the idea of Memphis seceding, I mean, I think there's people in Tennessee who be like, okay, so, but then again, we don't want Memphis to have 2 senators in D.C. plus some Congress people, right? But I will say this, it does kind of open up another can of worms, and that is when the Congress, I can't remember when Congress capped the representation for the country at 435 people, but I do think in hindsight that has been a mistake. That's been a mistake because it's just quite frankly way easier to bribe 435 people than if we had 1,000 member Congress. The Constitution says that you can apportion a representative for every 30,000 people. Now, it doesn't mean that once you get an area with 30,000 people, you have to have a rep. But it just means that if you're going to have a rep, I think if that's the number, it's got to at least be 30,000. But at some point, we realize, well, we've got this infrastructure here. We're capping the amount of representatives at 435. And I think that's been a mistake. If anything, it's easier to corrupt smaller numbers of people, and I think that would be a remedy. Getting rid of the 17th Amendment and expanding the lower house's representation, just generally speaking, might be a good thing moving forward. Maybe not in this juncture, maybe not where we are right now, but 435 congressmen to represent 350 million people doesn't make any sense. Versus if you go back and you look at what things were, as our population increases, it makes no sense that we only stick to a set number. Set number of senators, fine, but a set number of the lower chamber, no. I think that's been. It's one of the reasons we're in where we are where we are. What was it? What was it? Ancient Greece or ancient Rome? What system of government had when they had jury trials? They had, was it 500 member jury with the understanding that you couldn't bribe. You get the number so high, knowing that bribes are going to happen, but knowing that no one's going to be able to bribe that many people to do the wrong thing. I need to look that up. Somebody told me that the other day. But anyway, we got a lot of corruption, and that's a big problem here. Let's see here. I'm going to move on from that. Todd Starnes, back on Memphis. He says, the congressional redistricting in Tennessee has nothing to do with race. I live in Memphis. This is the reality of the situation. Representative Stephen Cohen, Democrat, Tennessee, a white dude, has represented Memphis in Congress. Hang on, he is, I mean, this is that game. Isn't he Jewish, though? Isn't Steve Cohen Jewish? I think he is. Anyway, Todd Starnes says, a white dude has represented Memphis in Congress for nearly 20 years. During his time, Republicans nominated a black woman as their choice 5 times. Democrats could have elected a black woman, but she was the wrong political persuasion. So my question to the black Democrats, did you deny Charlotte Bergman her seat in Congress because of her skin color or her gender? Facts matter. Memphis Democrats loathe black Republicans more than they do white Republicans. Yeesh. So we got this liberal publication, Tennessee Holler, says, today Tennessee Republicans will strip representation from majority black Memphis. We covered this yesterday. Josh Attaboy says Tennessee Holler comes out in hard support of illegal, racially defined congressional districts, disturbing to anyone who holds our democracy dear. But Jody Barrett for Tennessee reminds us that this was an old map. This got me curious. Like, this is an old map on your screen of what the districts used to look like in, I think, 2004. You see that there. There's 2000. Well, you guys can't quite see it because the screen is messed up, but it's basically the same right there in 2002 as it is in 2004. But you kind of look in 1994, you had this red there, you had some blue, but it expanded, And look at this district. Look at this red district that was drawn here. Look at the blue districts, and then between 2008 and then all of a sudden, the same thing happened to Tennessee that happened to happen to Arkansas when it comes to Obamacare and Barack Obama himself. Obama gets elected in 2008, and then in 2010, they're like, we've had enough. We've had enough. We're not socialists. We're not microwave communists or actual communists. And then you look through the years, and now here we are with these two current maps, and now Memphis is gone. And it's because the rest of the state doesn't take Memphis or their politics seriously. And they've got no one to blame but themselves. Now, this brings me to this guy. I've never heard of a guy. There's a guy by the name of Austin McNamara. Austin McNamara, when you look at his X profile, he says he's been on CNN, he's been on NBC, Aftermath, Wired. He's based out of Louisiana. He's a content creator. Apparently, he's got a show. But he is not, as being in Louisiana, he's not a fan of this. He's not a fan of what Louisiana is about to do to their 2 districts. And so he says this. Now, this gives you a lens with which to view the leftist mindset. Austin McNamara, quote, allowing the Confederates and their lineage to survive was a mistake. Allowing the Confederates and their lineage to survive, he says, was a mistake. Now that's a pretty crazy statement to make. But it for a rational person that still wants to try to operate within this system that we're all trying to operate in. But this is their mindset. This is the mindset of someone who believes they have the moral high ground on all the issues, to the point of wishing that a previous generation had genocided the South and not allowed Southern Americans to reproduce. Obviously, it's buying the false presupposition that this is based on race, when in reality the old districts were literally based around the color of your skin, and they would make the districts and the court would enforce them based only on race. And, of course, the comments here are pretty amazing. Southern Zoomer. You can always leave the South if you don't like it. Blue Tick says, guys with zero control over their environment will act out in rage and fantasize about violence. Does this look like a man that bends the world to his will? No, it doesn't. Weasel 1, if you're mad about this, these new districts, but not mad about this, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maine, then you're a hypocrite. But I'll say this. I'm not mad about this. I'm not mad about leftists running New England. They have control of the legislatures. They're winning the arguments with their ungodly, de-churched society that used to be one of the most Christian areas in the entire world. They're not that anymore. So their values have changed. And now they control this. I'm not, quote, mad about it. I'm mad that my country, well, I'll say my area of the country, I'm mad that my area of the country where I live among the people that I have the most in common with has had to operate politically at a court-enforced disadvantage really because of the Civil War. I didn't vote to secede. And yet, so we can't have representation for 60 years, for 70 years. We're not allowed to have representation for 70 years. Not adequate representation. We don't have the same rights that Maine and New Hampshire and New York had. And you know what? That's what happens with war. The spoils of war, go to the victor. And so we were made to be punished because of this in the 60s. And now that punishment is over. That exile is over. And the Republican Party should take note, and they should start holding primaries. They should start holding their primaries in the South first. Republican primaries should be held in the heartland of where the base of the voters are, not in New Hampshire. I'm fine. You can keep Iowa if you want. That's fine. That's middle America. That's fine. But we need the Southeastern Conference to essentially vote first in the primary so we can weed out these people that don't know that are trying to find a way to apologize for what the base of the party actually believes. That's what we need. We've got to end the RNC's choice architecture, and we need the southern states to vote in the primary season first. We don't need New England trying to sift through our candidates first. We need to be first so that it's very clear with the party where the base is. Can you imagine how much fun that would be if all of the emphasis in who the next presidential nominee for the Republican Party was going to be, if things started in the South and Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Florida, Arkansas, we'll throw Texas in there too, if we all get to vote in block. Oklahoma, you can join if you want. But we're voting first and not New Hampshire. I think that's what we need to do moving forward. Matter of fact, I think what would end this everything is like, let's just move let's quit doing these primaries state by state. Let's just quit doing that altogether. Let's do the primaries one day. I know that might hurt multiple. Maybe that's going to hurt when we have such a crowded primary, because I know people kind of weed out and they fall in. It's this whole process, but I think that whole process needs to be revisited because the whole thing seems to advantage the RNC most of the time. Just my 2 cents. Let me know what you guys think about that one in the comments. Nick Sorter, the Alabama Senate has just advanced legislation to redraw their maps and potentially eliminate all Democrat districts in the state. This is what it sounded like.
Woods. 27 ayes, 8 nays. House Bill 1 passes. All right, Senator Alburn.
Thank you, Mr. President, for the acknowledgement. I want to
Mr. Woods. 27 ayes, 8 nays. House Bill 1 passes. All right, Senator Alburn.
All right, so Alabama doing what they need to do. Now we're going to get to the supposed neutral take on all of this, which, again, is this take that is averse to using hard power. Again, the problem that many of us face is that Republicans who are in Washington, D.C. don't tend to be worried about their own voters having to live under Democrat authority and rule, which is why they won't end the filibuster and actually do and codify a lot of President Trump's executive orders. Like, I don't know, banning childhood mutilation surgeries. And the fact that they won't ban childhood mutilation surgeries is because the donor class of the Republican Party doesn't want to ban childhood mutilation surgeries. I want you to just marinate on that for a second. We still have big problems when you don't want to ban child mutilation. Like Trump's executive order, strong on that. Strong. Codifying into law, donors don't want it. Why? There's a lot of reasons. They want the middle class to be under attack because the middle class is the only segment in the entire world that believes in the Bill of Rights. Middle class. I want to say this again. The middle class, out of everybody in the world, the middle class majority is the only segment of the population. Maybe there's people in the really rich class that believe in the Bill of Rights, but not a majority. The lower class, they just don't want to be poor. The middle class in this country is the only segment of the entire world, majority speaking, that believes in freedom of speech and privacy. And so you attack that if you want that stuff to go away. But it's not just America that stands against it. It's only a subsection of America that stands against tyranny. So the fact that the D.C. Republicans won't end the filibuster, they don't seem to care about their own voters having to live under Democrat rule again when nobody's been held accountable. That is not true of the state governments. The state governments here used the power appropriately, the power that D.C. Republicans need to use, but the donors won't let them. So this Meghan McCain take is ridiculous, and it's a mentality that is going extinct because of the polarization and because of the fact that neutrality is a myth and there is no such thing as neutrality. And again, both sides believe the other to be intolerable to live around or under their ideas. And so we're using everything we have within the confines of the system to redo how we apportion things because we don't want to live under the other's power. I don't know where you go from that, but that's just my take. So Meghan McCain says, quote, I hate all gerrymandering and it should be illegal, full stop. It's awful when Democrats do it. It's awful when Republicans do it. American citizens have their voices and representation robbed of them. This is fake. This is a fake. You may wish the world would be that way. By the way, what even is gerrymandering? I mean, you can say, okay, gerrymandering is when they, okay, but I mean, at some point you get down to where you're just debating semantics. The people in charge are the people that the people voted for. Those are the ones who are in charge. Because they're in charge, they get to make the rules. This is part of the republic aspect of the democratic republic, is that we don't just have direct democracy. We have a process, and we use the democratic vote, if you can trust it, to put our leaders. And then once they're in charge, they make the rules. And if you don't like it, you got to win elections. And you can argue any district is gerrymandered. Any district, even if it looks nice and symmetrical, but you're not going to have right angles. A lot of this stuff's based on topography and geography. But Meghan McCain is living in, the 1990s. This is the politics of the 1990s, where politics wasn't like life and death and didn't. And when I say life and death, I mean that literally. In some cases, you go back to COVID, your political view saved your life in some instances, especially when you look at the vaccine data, or whether to or not to take ivermectin. Well, Trump said it, so it's got to be terrible. Actually, ivermectin saved my dad's life. My politics literally saved one of my family members' life when we had to smuggle in ivermectin to a hospital when they were trying to give him remdesivir. Aaron McIntyre, I think, has a good take in response to Meghan McCain. This is a hollow appeal to neutrality that can never exist. Someone will draw the districts. Those people will have motivations. It can be your motivations or the enemy's motivations, but there is no platonic form of voting rights. This is exactly right. He's exactly right there. In the meantime, you've got Republican Representative Don Bacon from Nebraska. Is he from Nebraska? I can't remember where Don Bacon is from. Does it say it in here? Hang on a second. Now I've got to know. Don Bacon, Nebraska. We're due to go to break here, but I'm just on a roll this Friday. Yeah, Nebraska. So Don Bacon is out there, saying that there's this, basically stumping for the great replacement. Listen.
Now, I think we have very good schools when it comes to engineering, math, all the things that you need to produce a high-performing stuff. But I would just also submit to you, and this is a critique of my party, and some parts of my party, they have become hostile to immigration. And the world's best want to come here. And we should find ways to bring in the world's best that help us with quantum computing, you name it, all the things that we need out there. So right now, if we don't have immigration, our birth rate is 1.7.
Your best. Losers always whine about their best. Yeah, the thing is, Don, I mean, even if we wanted to have this 1990s, mid-2000s era mentality anymore, like if we wanted to even have this debate, we got to acknowledge that we haven't been getting the best. Maybe even recognize who those people are. They're not the best, and deport them. And so you're wanting to have these conversations. So much of this is the elites just never wanting to admit that their previous policies have not worked and actually made this country worse off and poorer. And he goes on to talk about declining population, and that is a fact. The people that believe in that right now I can't even, I don't know. The theory that we have an overpopulation problem and that's a huge, we've got to do something, overpopulation. Well, now we actually have declining populations, so they got what they wanted, but the whole thing was a lie. We don't have enough people. We need more people. If globalism is going to, well, when I say globalism, I'm talking about global supply, the global supply trades. Like, if that's going to keep up, populations have got to. Like, when I was growing up, I don't know if you guys know this, but I maybe I'm wrong, but I grew up here in Arkansas. When I was growing up here in Arkansas, you couldn't find avocados at the grocery store. And if you could, it was rare. Now they're everywhere, okay? This is part of a supply chain. Stuff like this is not going to, and there's really, really good data out there that our current level of understanding of how, goods get to market and everything is not going to last if populations continue to decline. There's just not going to be enough people to get you what you want when you want it. So, I mean, he is right about our declining birth rate, but that doesn't mean that we need to bring the third world in here. And he's saying, oh, it's got to be the best of us. Well, that's not what we're doing. And what's going on with the H-1Bs is insane. They're putting 90-foot-tall monkey statues. I'm sorry, no thanks. 90-foot-tall pagan god monkey statues in Denton, Texas. So you look around and it's like, what war did we lose? The American, we've lost a war. Our country's completely different. And this kind of goes back to what we talked about yesterday with Neil Gorsuch talking about how we're a creedal nation, which is just not true. How we weren't founded on a religion, which is not true. And it goes hand in glove with this mentality. And he's right. Within the Republican coalition, there is this debate, and it's a healthy one, and it needs to continue. Because the idea that anybody can come here and be an American is just patently not true. We don't have magic soil that makes you believe in individual liberty and responsibility, and we don't just have magic soil that does that. Obviously, we know we have a system the Democrats and Republicans have exploited. Will people get here and then use the system, use the derivatives of. Use the benefits that are the derivatives of the great men that came before us against the civilization. It's insane. It's suicidal. It's just crazy. You go back and sorry about that. I just get frustrated sometimes. I mean, here it is in a nutshell. I found this tweet. It came across my algorithm. This is from December 18th of 2025, back when everybody was going crazy on Zoran Mondani, right? Mondani, he's going to take over New York, which of course he was. The people are voting for it, and they're literally voting for their own demise because they're going to get really terrible results. But Zoran Mondami's director of appointments wrote one time, quote, "It's important that white people feel defeated. This was a harsh blow, but it's not the first time that this country has let me down," DaCosta wrote on November 12, 2016, soon after President Donald Trump was elected. Quote, "It's important that white people feel defeated." This is their goal. This is their goal. The rampant anti-white bias discrimination. That's what this is really about. And that goes right into this idea of a creedal nation, which is America's an idea, not a people with a common ancestry and a common language. All nations, all nations spring up from people with a common ancestry and common language. And President Trump said it himself in front of King Charles. It's English. It's Anglo-Saxon blood. He said it in his address to the American people 2 weeks ago. Antonin Scalia said it, as we played for you yesterday. Antonin Scalia, the late Antonin Scalia, said America's culture, heritage is English. So when Gorsuch gets up there and says that America didn't come from a specific culture, there wasn't a defined culture, that's just patently obvious. There's no nation in the world that's ever existed that doesn't spring up from a culture, a unified culture. It is really sad coming from a Supreme Court justice. It is. It's really, really sad coming from a Supreme Court justice. All right, so I've said all I wanted to say on that, and so now it is time for a break. We've been on air for an hour and 11 minutes. I've got another 49 minutes or so left here in the broadcast, broadcasting on the Paul Harrell Program YouTube channel. Make sure you like and share and subscribe to that. We're trying to grow the channel. Also on LFA TV on Rumble. Make sure that you, if you haven't, If you're on LFA TV, make sure that you subscribe to that channel on Rumble. And just do all the things wherever you're watching, Facebook, X, wherever. Please do all the things. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Happy Friday to everybody out there. Hope you're enjoying your weekend and you're going to have a great one. We're going to be back here in just a moment.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red 5.
The other things that we're seeing, more and more use for is even vascular issues. So one of the mechanisms that red light, near-infrared light, or Red 5 works is stimulation of the mitochondria and stimulation of nitric oxide production. So when nitric oxide is released in cells, it vasodilates cells. It reduces inflammation. It moves blood. It brings blood flow to areas. So folks that have issues with ulcers or burns or wounds, it can help stimulate increased blood supply, and you need blood to heal. So that can open up different avenues for peripheral artery disease, for neuropathic pain syndromes. And so that's one of the other areas for nerve injury or nerve pain that we can leverage this type of medicine.
My name is John, and this is my beautiful wife, Lori, and this is our Star Wars Ewok. His name is Scout, and we have Scout for about 11 years now, and we started noticing about 3 years ago he started slowing down. He was unable to jump on the bed. He was kind of a little bit grumpier, and when my daughters, Macy and Mariah, would take him on walks, he would walk for about 30 yards, and then he'd lay down, and they'd carry him the rest of the way. So I heard about Pet Club 24/7 and about the products from a gentleman that I really trust and share a friendship with. And he mentioned to me that they have products that are going to help him with his arthritis, help him build his immune system. And I said, okay, no problem. Let's try them out. And I kid you guys not, within about 2 to 3 days, we started noticing a little difference. And then we took Scout on a walk probably about a week after we started using the products, the mush puppies, and he would walk the entire way. He would walk at least a mile, and it's just been completely amazing. He's a new dog. He's 11 years old, which is around 80 years in dog years, and he's just happy. He's more energetic. He's not the grumpy old man he used to be, and we're just so thankful. And it was perfect timing because we lost our boxer Yankee about a year and a half ago, and it was really hard on us. So I'm so thankful for Pet Club 24/7 for the products that they offer. Imagine if you could have your best friend around one more day or one more week or even one more year. I'm so blessed and thankful that we were able to find this company and find these products for Scout. So thank you guys. Give it a shot. We appreciate you. God bless everyone.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy. A life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red 5.
Harrell program.
Happy Friday, everybody out there. Sorry if I got a little worked up. We really do appreciate you being with us. Eric, obviously, Eric is not here. I do the show solo on most Fridays. Do it solo. Maybe have some guests. No guests today. It's just me getting all of the thoughts that I had cooped up into my brain the other 4 days of the week that I haven't been able to to give to you. Rob Spencer was out. Our co-host Rob was out all week on vacation. I'm envious of him. Don't get me wrong. I am, probably like many of you as well. Who takes a summer vacation in May? Who takes a summer vacation in May? Rob does. That's who. But anyway, so Rob hopefully will be back next week. I don't know his exact schedule, but I know he'll be if he can. Eric's gonna be here. We should be back at least a few shows. We'll be back to full steam next week. Really do appreciate it. So now we're going to talk about. We mentioned COVID earlier. There's this new hantavirus. Now people are starting to talk about or whatever, and I just don't think I don't think people are going to buy it this time. Even if they tried to push another psychological operation the way they did, I just don't think it's. I don't think people are going to buy it at all. I don't think they're even going to come close to buying it. Dr. Drew isn't buying it. Robert Malone isn't buying it, saying people are freaking out over absolutely nothing when it comes to this new, what's it called? I mispronounce. See, I don't even care. I'm so, just like with the alien stuff I'm going to talk about here in a minute, I'm just so over it. The hantavirus. It'll haunt you. The hantavirus. Listen to this.
I'm really worried. You know, we have a hantavirus outbreak in a cruise ship, and everybody's wanting to do it all over again. Are you freaking? It's not a respiratory virus. Stop it. Stop it now. Stop the news agencies need to stop. Everybody needs to stop. Hantavirus has been around a long time. It's nasty. Yeah. So is TB. So is a lot of other things. So is rickettsia. Let's deal with the rats problem downtown in Los Angeles. We have murine typhus and pneumonic plague breaking out. Deal with that. But I digress. The fact is that there are structural and philosophical excesses in public health that need to be kind of addressed. And is anyone in public health thinking about this?
No, they're not. They are thinking about vaccines. Zero Hedge. Moderna is working on early-stage hantavirus vaccines. Lara Logan, patent for hantavirus mRNA vaccine was filed in 2025. Lara Logan, right on cue, she says. That was Liz Churchill that wrote that. We have Patrick Webb reporting the CDC has activated its emergency operations centers and has classified the hantavirus outbreak as a level 3. Thankful for this community note in X. This will go a lot different as well with X and Elon Musk in control. Level 3 is the lowest level of CDC EOC activation used for routine monitoring of low-risk situations rather than major emergency. The problem is hantavirus can be serious if you get it. The idea is everybody is worried about some sort of gain-of-function research that's been done on it that makes human-to-human transfer easier and that sort of thing. For example, Mary Talley Bowden, who is a great follow, by the way, she says she's going to be selling ivermectin, by the way, to anybody who wants it who's in the state of Texas, which is good. Hantavirus cases now suspected in 5 countries. The CNN public health expert, according to Mary Talley Bowden, is salivating over another lockdown.
And what a quarantine might really mean in context of the long incubation period. And we have a question from one of our viewers. They ask, it's said that it can take 8 weeks to become symptomatic. The passengers shouldn't be allowed into the public until they're completely cleared. You know, what is that a fair way to look at this? I mean, how long do you think people should be quarantined who are either on that ship or in contact with someone who is there?
Yeah, I mean, this is the big challenge with this virus, the long incubation period. And now we have people scattered really around the globe that are being properly tracked, isolated, quarantined, and get it under control. But what they did was they quarantined and isolated people for 40 days because of the long incubation period. So unfortunately, this is a key factor in us trying to figure out how do we keep people safe? How do we prevent further spread? I mean, what we're all tracking right now is that potential secondary spread. And then how do we minimize those who are infected from infecting others?
I'm going to go ahead and say, just kind of preemptively, like, I reject whatever the next vaccine is that they want. People have already looked into the coded numbers here. People aren't buying it. They don't like it. I'm right there with them. I'm not one of these guys that rejects the conspiracy theories and the numerology that people put out there and the significance of 33. Wall Street Journal, the 33-day Atlantic Odyssey that turned into a hantavirus nightmare. I see stuff like this and I think, okay, yeah, to me, I think signals are real. Signals like this and signals like 8647. The Patriot Voice want to know what's absolutely bat excrement insane. Hantavirus is listed as a reported possible adverse event after getting the Pfizer COVID jab. No, that is insane if that's true. Hantavirus pulmonary infection. That's nuts, dude. That is crazy. Also, people have looked into this. Apparently, in 2024, 323 vials containing the deadly virus. Some of them, including hantavirus. 323 vials containing deadly viruses. Some of that was Hanta.
Now, I want to stress that there have been no public health incidents linked to these materials. So we have no evidence so far of any event occurring as a result of the loss or the destruction of these materials. The department is taking all necessary steps to ensure that it does have the appropriate regulatory matters in place.
Yeah. I actually think if this were to kick off again, people would just ignore everything. Certainly red states would. That brought me to this clip because honestly, the only reason I have this tweet is because it's a segue into talking about the UFO disclosures that came out today from the government. Lizzie on X, I stole this pic from the top secret meeting I was invited to for church leaders to prepare everyone for Bible-changing revelations of aliens from the Mormon star planet Kolob. It's all totally real, so everyone please freak out. Nobody stay calm. They are real, and they have come to help. Bill Gates, hantavirus vaccine, Anthony Fauci. Should have had some data centers in there as well. I'm now getting to the point where I think these data centers that we all have to build are somehow contingent on alien disclosure and technology. I mean, at a bare minimum, I think the data centers are technology we're putting all across the country to more easily enslave humanity. But so here's some of the disclosures here. MJ Truth, I finished watching all the available UAP videos that were released this morning. This is what one of them looks like. This was in the files that the government disclosed. People are, let's see, Ercaminos up here says this looks like Ezekiel's wheel within a wheel. So people are already, kind of looking at the Bible and actually saying, hey, well, the Bible could explain this. I don't know how the Bible, I'm not going to say how the Bible would, but I don't know of anything otherworldly, interdimensional, spiritual that would also leave a contrail. It does appear to be leaving some sort of contrail in the back as well. So I don't know, guys, but this was it. It was weird because everybody was talking about, hey, the UFO files are coming, and everybody, all these politicians, it's interdimensional beings. Which, by the way, I think we're going to be able to categorize whatever it is with biblical categories. The Bible has categories for what the Lord created. But I just think it's interesting. I literally get on my X this morning, and everybody's showing me the moon landing. It was turned into see, we really did land on the moon, and everybody was trying to take victory laps, and I'm like, wait a second. Come on now. I mean, but anyway, there was this, and there's more to come apparently. But you can go watch the show we did on the hysteria surrounding this and the secret pastors meeting and everything else, and then the mainstream media saying that the revelations were going to change the Bible. No, how's it going to change the Bible? No, it's not going to change the Bible, ladies and gentlemen. That's not going to happen. So Jay Dyer reposted something that he posted back in 2016 from Arthur C. Clarke and NASA and the Brookings Institute, admitting, he says, that the alien psyop is put out there to destroy Christianity. So let me read for you this alleged psyop to try to destroy Christianity. And I want you to ask yourself this question. Do you think this would actually work? So it's from a book, and it says, fundamentalist Christians, he pointed out, did the same thing when they automatically attributed all UFO phenomenon to demonic activity. In 1960, a Brookings Institute study commissioned by NASA stated that the effect of the discovery of extraterrestrial life on fundamentalists of all religious traditions would be electrifying. It would have potential far-reaching consequences, especially in societies where fundamentalists were a powerful social force. Science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke felt that the doctrine of the incarnation, Jesus' birth, in particular, was a ticking time bomb for all of Christianity. As one psychologist in the UFO community observed, perhaps in some ways the long battle against the UFO cover-up was not really about the public's right to know, as much as it was about the public's right not to know. Not only would the idea of the incarnation itself have to come under review, as one investigator pointed out, the whole Christian idea of God's plan of salvation would be severely problematized. The Christian religion would be particularly compromised by the discovery of extraterrestrial life, since it makes so much of the incarnation as a historical event of knowledge of the good news of Jesus Christ, passion, ascension, and atonement as the basis of salvation. It would either have to maintain that the incarnation and crucifixion of the Son of God has occurred in innumerable worlds, or embark on a vigorous missionary campaign of broadcasting the good news throughout the universe. The latter would be a vain effort, for the distant galaxies are receding from us faster than the speed of light and could never be contacted, so their inhabitants presumably would be eternally damned, a fact surely irreconcilable with any idea of divine providence. So, I read that a couple of days ago and thought they think an alien disclosure, whether you call it extraterrestrial men on Mars or interdimensional, which the interdimensional is like a gift. It's like, oh, okay, so you're talking about spiritual entities that are acting on our dimension. But even if they are corporeal on other planets, we can still categorize it as spiritual. I mean, there's biblical accounts, depending on what your interpretation of Genesis chapter 6 is. There's an app for that. We've got an answer for that. So, I mean, it's crazy to me. It really showed you, to me, honestly, it's really sad. It showed you how little these people who think they've studied Christianity and rejected it, it shows you how little they actually know about what it is they're rejecting. It's like they only have knowledge of Christians in some sort of abstract, like they don't actually know anything about what it is we believe and how they just think, well, like what Obama think. Well, they just got their guns and their Bibles. They don't actually think that. No, actually, Christians are studious, and they've read their Bibles, and they think through tough questions, and they pursue the mysteries of God and how He reveals Himself to us through His Holy Spirit, through the Scriptures, through His Word. But we can say that, and I guess they don't. Well, there's actually Scripture to explain that. But I actually wrote, reading this, I'm struck by how illiterate Clarke is to Christianity. It's as if they only know about Christianity in the abstract. And I think they do, and it really shows you the arrogance that they actually even haven't fully investigated what it is they've rejected. But then Joyless Fox writes, "For the word of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God." So there you go. If you're blind in your sin, or I would say what Scripture says, you're dead in your sin, how are you going to notice? How are you going to notice the holy unless somebody first makes you alive? So yeah, there's that. We've got. I don't know, where am I going to go next? I think now I'm going to start it. I think I'm going to start it now. So anyway, on the alien thing, let me wrap a bow around the alien thing. As I said the other day, we're all going to be fine. These revelations are going to continue to come out. There's even talk that they actually have bodies, that photos of bodies, more craft. How much of the craft is our technological advancements and that sort of thing. But I'll just say this: somebody answer me a couple of questions. Let me go. James T. Kirk, Star Trek V. What does God need with a starship? Let me start. Let me just start there. If we have all this advanced technology, how is there a conflict in the Middle East that's making our lives more difficult? That's my first question. Now, the answer to that could be we don't really have it in any sort of mass production, or all these other countries have this technology too, and there's some sort of advanced technological mutually assured destruction that's already out there, or there's governing bodies. There's already a global government and we don't even know it. I mean, there's all kinds of places you can go. But that'd be my first question. If we have all this amazing technology, how come the Strait of Hormuz is making me pay $4 a gallon of gas in Arkansas? Okay. But number two, in terms of the government disclosures, I'll reiterate my other question. Why are we living in a world where the government is suddenly disclosing to us knowledge of aliens or interdimensional beings? Which is, by the way, the conspiracy theory to rule all conspiracy theories. It's kind of like the very first one. But we're also being told by the same government that there's nobody else to arrest or investigate when it comes to who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked kids to. The government doesn't want to tell us about that conspiracy because it might implicate too many powerful people. But they're going to tell us about aliens, which I don't even think it's an arguable point, would implicate, well, maybe some of the same people in a Venn diagram. Maybe all the child molesters are actually aliens, which would mean that they're demons. Wouldn't be a shocker there. But you see, those are my two questions. Anyway, so take that with a grain of salt. Take it all with a grain of salt, folks, on this Friday. So the other day, I happened upon a tweet that I thought was a pretty interesting tweet. So we're going to have a little fun here today. Oh, I'm sorry. Look what I've been doing this whole thing without. So the other day I happened upon a tweet, and it was a post by a guy by the name of David Green, aka, if you follow him over on X, at GreenMan6, and it was a fascinating post to me. He showed 4 scenes from classic Hollywood films, and then he made this observation, and I'll show it to you right here. He made this observation, quote, "I just realized that almost all of the most iconic moments of early Hollywood are just men telling women no." You see the you may not recognize some of them. Obviously, you got to recognize Gone with the Wind, Casablanca, Citizen Kane is bottom left, and then the Maltese Falcon is the bottom right image there. Isn't that fascinating? That old Hollywood films told women no. Again, almost all of the most iconic moments of early Hollywood are just men telling women no. So I saw that, and honestly, the second I read it, I knew it was true, because once you really think about it, old Hollywood emphasized what? What did old Hollywood emphasize? Male headship and masculinity. That's what they emphasized. And they weren't afraid to tell stories that reflect a baseline reality of life. And you know what that is? It's the self-evident truth that men, good men, know how to exercise restraint, duty, sacrifice, self-control, moral limits. Back in the day, the hero wasn't usually the person chasing fulfillment like it is today. The hero back in the day was often the person denying himself something he desperately wanted. He would say, no, I can't have it. I've got to do what's right. And that's radically different, ladies and gentlemen, from modern storytelling. Modern movies are often built around existential rebellion. The message now is break free, reject expectations, follow your truth, escape responsibility. And you know what? If you really want to know like what most like captures that, like modern movies in the last, I don't know how old Frozen is, 15 years, but it's Frozen. Look at Frozen. Disney's Frozen for kids. The emotional centerpiece of the entire movie is what? Let it go. Let it go. A song about abandoning restraint, fleeing responsibility, and embracing unchecked self-expression, and the audience is taught to celebrate it. Or, you want to go live action? And there's plenty of examples here, but forgive me, it was just May 4th, May the 4th be with you, earlier this week. You can look at Star Wars, specifically The Last Jedi, which was a terrible movie written by a man by the name of Rian Johnson, who I don't even understand how he has a career left. It was so bad. They took Luke Skywalker, a character whose entire identity was built around hope, sacrifice, discipline, and faith, and turned him into a bitter old man who throws away his lightsaber and then abandons the whole concept of being a Jedi and the Jedi Order. So that would have been unthinkable in the classic Hollywood, movie-making business, because older storytelling traditions often treated civilization as fragile and dependent, again, on good men doing the right thing, even though they didn't want to. So older storytelling traditions, they treated civilization as fragile, and that civilization depended on men of moral character to do the right thing when it mattered most. Meaning mattered. Duty mattered. Self-denial mattered. And once you notice that difference, these old films stand out as very conspicuous. Telling a woman no, telling a hysterical, manipulative woman no. It hits so much different in 2026 today because it's unthinkable according to modern standards. The most famous ending in Hollywood history. What is it? The most famous ending in Hollywood history. Well, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. You guys remember this?
Red!
You go. Where shall I go? What shall I do?
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
Like a boss. I mean, honestly, that is arguably like the first... That's like the first mic drop moment, if you think about it. Right there. The first mic drop moment. Frankly, I don't give a damn. That's the most famous, arguably one of the most famous lines in Hollywood history. Rhett Butler finally walking away from Scarlett after years of obsession, manipulation, chaos, drama, and the defining moment is rejection of the woman. Not reconciliation, not affirmation. Rhett is done. And you know what? The audience, they remembered this. They remembered this line for almost a century, and we're remembering it right now. We're remembering it right now today. Then, back to that tweet by Mr. Green, then you can move to the movie Casablanca. And again, same pattern. You have Humphrey Bogart, who loves the lady. She loves, is it Ingrid Bergman, I think? Humphrey Bogart loves her. She loves him. The audience obviously wants them together. But what's the iconic scene? It's him refusing her. Matter of fact, we have that clip for you as well. Let's take a listen.
Because you're getting on that plane.
I don't understand. What about you?
I'm staying here with him till the plane gets safely away.
No, Richard, no. What has happened to you? Last night
we said a great many things. You said I was to do the thinking for both of us. Well, I've done a lot of it since then. It all adds up to one thing. You're getting on that plane with Victor where you belong.
But, Richard, no,
Now, you've got to listen to me. You have any idea what you'd have to look forward to if you stayed here? 9 chances out of 10, we'd both wind up at a concentration camp. Isn't that true, Louis?
I'm afraid Major Strasser would insist.
You're saying this only to make me go.
I'm saying it because it's true. Inside of us, we both know you belong with Victor. You're part of his work, the thing that keeps him going. If that plane leaves the ground and you're not with him, you'll regret it. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life.
What about us?
He goes on to say that we'll always have Paris, but then he says this.
I would never leave you.
And you never will. But I've got a job to do, too. Where I'm going, you can't follow. What I've got to do, you can't be any part of. Ilsa, I'm no good at being noble, but it doesn't take much to see that the problems of three little people don't amount to a hill of beans in this crazy world.
I think that's actually my favorite line. It doesn't take much to see the three of our problems. They don't amount to a hill of beans. Like, I think that may be my favorite line in the whole movie. You know, I know everyone's like, you know, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday and soon and for the rest of your life. I think it's that perspective. It's that perspective that he has. What makes that scene powerful is that he does not choose personal happiness. Instead, Humphrey Bogart, in that scene, he sacrifices it like a man, like many of you men do and have done for your families over the course of your entire life. You sacrifice what you want for what your family needs or what your wife needs. In this case, he's sacrificing a love interest for what the greater good, which is civilization. He sacrifices it. Modern storytelling doesn't do that. Modern storytelling would say, follow your heart no matter what. Old Hollywood, though, they said, no. Sometimes civilization itself depends on self-control. And then you get to the third, in that tweet that we saw at the very beginning of the segment, you get to the third clip, which may be a little less notable, but it's from Citizen Kane. Now, this scene is a little different. It kind of flips the idea of men standing up to women into something a little darker if you've seen Citizen Kane. This one isn't as noble, or maybe not noble at all. It's about control. It's about ego, and you've got the man here, the character here. He's refusing to let a woman do what she wants, which in this case is stop singing opera and having to read bad reviews, because his identity depends on controlling the narrative. Okay, so we're going to play this clip next from Citizen Kane. Tell me what you think about this. This is telling the hysterical woman no for sure.
Awful funny, aren't you? Well, I can tell you one thing you're not going to keep on being funny about, and that's my singing. I'm through. I never wanted to in the first place.
You'll continue with your singing, Susan. I don't propose to have myself made ridiculous.
You don't propose to have yourself made ridiculous. What about me? I'm the one that's got to do the singing. I'm the one that gets the raspberries. Why don't you let me alone?
My reasons satisfy me, Susan. You seem unable to understand them. I will not tell them to you again.
My reasons satisfy me, Susan. You seem unable to understand them, and I will not tell them to you again. So that's quite the line. They don't make them like they used to, folks. Imagine what you just heard there in a modern day movie. The only way that movie gets made today is if the man winds up tortured to death in some excruciating agony at the hands of the oppressed woman who wanted to quit. Like, this is the only way they'd even put something like that on screen today, is if the man met some terrible, untimely, imprison the guy in an attic and don't let him starve to death or something. The scene is fascinating, though, because Kane isn't sacrificing himself. He's sacrificing her. He can't admit failure. He can't accept reality. And the audience is supposed to understand that back in the day. An obsession with control destroys both of the characters. This is what filmmaking used to be. Not anymore. Then you get to the Maltese Falcon, the dark crime dramas of the 1940s. The Maltese Falcon or Maltese Falcon. Those films might be the purest form of this entire idea because those heroes constantly deny themselves emotionally in the name of a moral code, even when they don't want to. So here is the last clip from the tweet from the Maltese Falcon. I can provide a little more context here after this, but basically, she killed his partner. He now knows it, and she's trying to pull one over on him.
Oh, sweetheart, it wasn't only that. I'd have come back to you sooner or later. From the very first instant I saw you, I knew.
Well, if you get a good break, you'll be out of Tehachapi in 20 years, and you can come back to me then. I hope they don't hang you, Precious, for that sweet neck.
You're not.
Yes, Angel, I'm going to send you over. The chances are you'll get off with life. That means if you're a good girl, you'll be out in 20 years. I'll be waiting for you. If they hang you, I'll always remember you.
Don't say that even in fun. Oh, I was frightened for a minute. I really thought
Yep, here it comes.
you do such wild and unpredictable things.
Don't be silly. You're taking the fall.
You've been playing with me. Just pretending you cared to trap me like this. You didn't care at all. You don't love me.
I won't play the sap for you.
Oh, you know it's not like that. You can't say that.
You never played square with me for half an hour at a stretch since I've known you.
You know down deep in your heart that in spite of anything I've done, I love you.
I don't care who loves who. I won't play the sap for you. I won't walk in Thursby's, and I don't know how many other footsteps. You killed Miles, and you're going over for it.
Here's a man who is interested in her. And, you know, you see the movie, you know, he likes her. But he realizes, I'm not playing the sap so that you can get away with murder. I don't really make movies like that anymore either, do they? Pretty fascinating. Maybe we all need to go back and watch Gone with the Wind, Citizen Kane, Maltese Falcon, and Casablanca. Got a guy here. Seems like he loves her. Loved her at one point in the movie, but at the end he turns her in. Now, why did he do that? Why did the main character in Maltese Falcon turn him in? Why? Because there's something bigger than desire. Something bigger than passion, something bigger than what feels good right now. That lady killed his partner, and whether people realize it or not, old Hollywood repeated this theme over and over and over again. The audience wasn't being taught your feelings are sacred. They were being taught your feelings are dangerous, actually. That if your feelings are going to rule over you, then that's actually dangerous. You don't want that. You don't want to be led by your emotions. And that's throughout a lot of these old Hollywood movies. That is not the case at all anymore. That's why scenes like this, the ones we just saw, this little tour down memory lane, that's why they lasted. That's why they still hit, in my opinion. And they do. Because every one of the men is paying, every one of these men is paying a price that you just saw. Every one of these men paying a price in some way, shape, or form for saying no. Maybe you could say Rhett's not, because he's just, Rhett and Scarlett, he's like, I am out, whatever. But he certainly paid the price, it basically meaning he failed. Men everywhere know that sometimes you do pay a price if you tell a woman no, especially an unsubmissive one, and especially in this day and age. But classic Hollywood storytelling understood that civilization itself is often built on the ability to deny yourself. Compare that to modern feminism, which is infused in all of our movies and all of our governments, and there simply isn't any room for that. There is no room for self-sacrifice when it comes to feminism. It's take, and overtake the patriarchy. And I think that's because the whole concept of self-denial, I think the whole concept of self-sacrifice is rooted, not that women can't do it, but it is rooted in masculinity. And we got rid of masculinity. And now most of the men in power today are slaves to feminism and lack the ability to deny their emotions. It's kind of like it's contagious. Instead, we are ruled by our emotions more than we would like to admit. I think it's time. Isn't Gone with the Wind like 4 hours long? But I think it's time. I think it's time that we need to go back. We need to watch Gone with the Wind. I haven't seen it since I was real small. And I honestly probably never actually watched all 4 hours. I mean, I know there's an intermission, but I remember my older sister got really into Gone with the Wind. It was one of those things like, oh, I want to watch this. But, you know, you watch it, you kind of figure out what's going on. But yeah, well, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn. You know, it's just these iconic moments. David Green is onto something here. I saw this and I immediately knew I had to do a segment on it, breaking it down. Almost all of the most iconic moments of early Hollywood are just men telling women no. You could write a book about this. You could write an entire book about this phenomenon and what it symbolizes and what the lack of that, the lack of what we see in movies. Again, if you do have a strong male character telling women no in today's movies, they're going to die, they're going to be punished, they're going to be embarrassed, they're going to be emasculated. But old Hollywood reflected what they knew to be evidently true, that the average man was more like Humphrey Bogart and Rhett Butler, that it was true that the average men, they saw themselves like that. They didn't just see themselves that way. They might not have been, aristocratic or, had a lot of money or whatever, but this is what a man does when he leads his family. They take on some level of self-sacrifice. And I know this just dawned on me. I'm giving this critique on Mother's Day weekend. I'm giving this critique on Mother's Day weekend. I apologize to all the moms out there. I love my mom. I love my wife, the mother of my children. So I get that. Sorry. Sorry, not sorry, I guess. But but it is what it is, man. Like there is that common like evangelifish trope where you go to church on Mother's Day and the sermon ends up, it depends on what kind of church. If you're going to a church that is going to let the world's holidays dictate what you preach about, I don't go to a church that does that. But if you do, again, Mother's Day, you're going to get some ooey gooey speech about, or some ooey gooey sermon, about moms or whatever. But you go to church on Father's Day and you get a hard sermon about how men are not carrying their weight and they're not doing what's right and blah blah blah. And somebody said the other day that so much of the problem with the American church today is it's a lot easier to feminize the men than it is to tell women no. It's easier to get the women to get the men to become more feminized than it is to get the. And I think it fundamentally, and I'm trying to remember what this tweet said and who said it, but men are naturally going to be, are going to pursue conflict when it's necessary. Now, you can be too quarrelsome. That's absolutely true. But men are naturally going to be confrontational when it's necessary. And the fact of the matter is women don't like confrontations. They don't like confrontations. And so it's easier to tell the men to sit on their hands and be quiet in our society now where, you can't tell a woman that they can't murder their baby. And so, I don't know. I think that's a valid critique that goes along with kind of the feminization. It makes perfect sense. I don't see how you can deny it. You can't deny that our culture has been feminized, so weak churches are also going to adopt the feminization. They're going to be affected by the feminization of the culture. I just think that's like cause and effect 101, man. Cause and effect 101. General Motors. Let's see here. A few more stories as we come. Well, actually, this is kind of more like it's kind of a cheap shot, but I will say this. This is from the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office, May the 8th. General Motors has agreed to pay $12.75 million to settle California consumer protection law alleging data privacy violations. The company allegedly sold California OnStar subscribers' personal information to data brokers without proper disclosure or consent. So General Motors, this giant company, is going to pay $12.75 million, which is just a cost of doing business. This is chump change. This kind of corporate, it's just mind-bogglingly ridiculous. GM's going to pay $12.75 million. You think they're going to quit selling your data? No. This is the type of stuff that just leaves consumers out to dry. Also, this came across my desk yesterday. Headline from Family USA: New analysis shows big health systems charge triple the Medicare rates for the exact same care and are driving the healthcare affordability crisis. System-owned hospitals bring in nearly $28 million per year per hospital in profits on average, 10 times more than rural independent hospitals. Last week, the House Ways and Means Committee members questioned some of the biggest healthcare system CEOs about their profit margins. The CEOs offered no accountability. Yeah, that's not surprising there at all. According to a new analysis from Families USA released today, the biggest hospital systems in the country charge 3 times more than the Medicare rates for the same care. They collect tens of millions in annual profits per hospital. This report adds to decades of evidence showing a clear and disturbing trend. The more hospital chains consolidate, the higher prices Americans pay in their premiums and their out-of-pocket costs. Can you say the word monopoly with me? Monopoly. We have got to put this word back in our vocabulary. We've got to do it fast. It's already happening. You saw it with the Ticketmaster, what was that other company? Anyway, the jury trial that found that those 2 ticket companies were conspiring together. But then you also look at what the Department of Justice said, and Brooke Rollins, the Ag Secretary, said the other day about the 4 big meat packing plants. Monopoly. You look at the story that we covered with Amazon and what they're doing to prices on their website, where Amazon calls Hanes and they say, "Hey, your underwear is too low on Walmart, and if you don't get Walmart to raise the price to our price, then we're going to bury your search results." It's insane. And Hanes does. Hanes calls Walmart or Levi or any of these companies, and they get Walmart to raise the prices back up at the request of Amazon. Or they'll bury your search results. Can you say monopoly? Can you say unfair trade practices that are hurting the American consumer? So not only do we have inflation that we're still recovering from, do we have higher gas prices? We're going to have higher food because of the higher gas prices. We have all this coming down the pike, but then we also have non-Christian CEOs who are consumed with greed, and they don't actually care about the people that are buying their products. This country would be way better off if we had more Christians at the heads of our industries. But we don't, and because of that, everybody, Christian and non-Christians, are suffering because of it. That's all the time that we have for this edition of the Paul Harrell program on this Friday. We really do appreciate you being with us. Thanks to the great folks at LFA TV. Shout out to Eli, the producer there, that makes so much of what's on this network possible. Please like and subscribe to LFA TV, and make sure that you like, share, and subscribe the YouTube channel, Paul Harrell Program. This is Friday, so this is the time where I tell you to go to church. I hope you do. I hope you go to church and have a blessed Lord's Day. If you don't go to church, please find one. Start looking. Find a church that preaches about the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ and his mighty ability to save sinners. Have a blessed Lord's Day. We'll see you here on Monday. Hopefully we'll be up to full steam. God bless.